Something on my mind about ADHD chaos and how I can and can't get things done in life. And I'm going to see if I can go with the flow, because I tried to plan this video before. Business is something like the title of it is Being Busy About Breaking Your Own Life. I tried to plan the video, and the concept was how some of us learn, how I learned how to just look busy and act busy and be busy, but it ended up turning into an entirely different thing. And I liked it, so I left it up. But I'm trying to talk about that ADHD chaos thing, because there's a whole lot of looking at us and thinking, wow, that's chaotic. That can't work. That can't be right. That's not how you get things done. That's not consistent. This isn't how we achieve success. It's not how you do anything. You can't do anything that way. You can't get anything good done that way. And the truth of the matter is, those might all be lies from people who hopefully do not know that they're actually lying, but it's not about them right now. So anyway, welcome to Coffee with Avila. I'm Aviana Lemaire. And today I'm talking about this sort of inherent chaos with which I'm finding myself doing things in life. And this is one of those places where when I knew I was autistic, it didn't fully make sense, because chaos is not the autistic way. But man, that ADHD realization really brings it in there. And it will, I am going to keep referring to it as chaos. For me, that's not even necessarily that bad of a word. For a lot of people, it sounds like, oh, everything here is hideous and destructive. But for me, it just kind of means a lack of a certain type of order. It exists, but it exists in a way that is not extremely linear and extremely specific and well planned out and plotted in a very human way, or almost in a computerized way, where there's a pattern to everything. For instance, the way a human might plan a flower bouquet, or might arrange the setup of flower bouquets at something like a wedding. You're going to have a bouquet here, one there, one on each table. You might have one on the corner of each pew if you're getting married in a church. They're in certain places. It's very linear, right? That's well thought out and planned. But chaos, for me, is how flowers spring up in real life, where they're just everywhere. The seeds get dropped. One year you might have 50 to the left side and 10 to the right. The next year you might have 50 to the right side and 10 to the left. The squirrels drop things. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think this is possibly how I look at everything in life. I see things a bit differently, right? So just to explain that, but it does tie into my larger point. When I'm using terms like chaos or any other word, some of these words are charged for us in the neurodivergent community because we've experienced them flying at us in a not so nice way. But I don't look at it that way. I look at my ADHD chaotic way of doing things, and I think this is just more like the way nature strews flowers about, where it's self-sustaining and renewable, than the way that another human being would decide that they have to be, where you kind of have to force it that way. It's not natural. They're not really growing there. You have to maintain it. And even if you are growing them, who knows what happens when you walk away. If you plant a garden and it's in a particular order and nature takes over, let's say you leave and you grow up and you live your life, and 50 years later you get to come back. The garden is still there. Nobody destroyed it, but people aren't tending to it. Maybe the garden is still there. Maybe the conditions were right, but maybe now the flowers are everywhere and they've overgrown and the grass is taller and it just looks wild. I think this is how the ADHD brain processes everything and creates. And so what I've been thinking about, especially as I've been trying to figure out how I do things in a healthy way with this new information. Oh, I can't make myself do it that way because my brain is fighting it. My brain isn't fighting it because it's messed up. My brain is fighting it because it's just built a different way. So how do I do things? And the answer is embrace the chaos. I have personally been embracing insane amounts of chaos, spatial chaos, for instance. I've been rearranging things and trying to figure out how they work better for me. And I have all these memories dating back to being early in my childhood, processing how I was being told you don't have order, everything is chaotic, and it's so much better to have order. Here's what order looks like, here's how you do it, here's how you maintain it. I am ADHD, autistic and ADHD, and part of me loves that order. Part of me loves the organization. Part of me enjoys getting all of my art supplies together in a specific box or a series of boxes and places, and keeping all my brushes together, and having all of my watercolors together, and having all of my drawing implements together by brand and or type. And part of me, which I'm now coming to believe, and that autistic part of me loves to organize it too. It's just a ball. I love doing it. I do this stuff for fun. I used to do it for other people. I sometimes would do it for a bit of pay. I'm good at it and I love it. There's no question about whether I can do it, and no question about whether or not I love it, which is why it's such an incredible juxtaposition for me in my own brain, just getting used to this concept of it, that sometimes I cannot make the organization take place because to me, the ADHD part of my brain also needs total chaos. For instance, once all of the stuff is together in all of the boxes, then in order for me to use it, I have to take all the boxes out. And I need to open the boxes. And I need access to the stuff. And I might be drawing with, I don't know, 4 colors, 6 colors, 10 colors, 12 colors. I have them out in a certain order in my mind, but I know that it looks like chaos. To me, it's organized chaos, you know, because that autistic part of me is organizing it, but the ADHD part just needs to have freedom and an artsy reign over things. I think they come together to form kind of organized chaos. I think that's probably what it is. And so I kind of need to have my stuff out. And it can get in my way because not living in the dream environment, sometimes it's hard to eat because you've got your art stuff in the way of where you need to sit your plate, and you need to sit your mug, and you need to sit your cup. And I kind of have a space where I end up moving stuff out of the way. I'll end up using an eating surface for doing other chores. If I've got anything to do, if I'm journaling, if I'm trying to take care of personal business, I mean, I'm looking around trying to remember different stuff that I'm doing because my mind is drawing a blank. But whatever it is, including other chores, sometimes cleaning products, setting stuff out to organize it, just having a place for things so I can clean them before I put them away. I really need that space clear. But then part of me has that chaos. If I want to do something that feeds me, like journaling, like arting, as I call it, I'm arting, like it's a verb. I'm making art and I need all of my stuff out. I need the stuff to be out. And the magic of that is, if it's out, it's so easy for me to just get to it and just start. Oh no, I can see that my battery's about to die. Please, no. I don't know how much longer I have. Let me take a sip and get my thoughts back. But as long as it's out, I'm so inspired. I can grab anything I want. I can just start creating. But even if I'm in the middle, I found this, if I'm in the middle of a piece, or I'm at the beginning, and the timing of the day, let's say I'm sleepy now, I've got to go to sleep no matter how much I want my inspiration, I'm just too tired and it's not working, then I have to put the stuff away. And because I don't necessarily have infinite space for keeping all my stuff out, I do have to put it away. So what happens is I put it away and my inspiration disappears with it. Now I can't get my thoughts back together. Now I can't remember the exact colors I had. And sometimes I can go through a whole system, pull out the colors I was using, put them over there, put them in a different container. Very often what happens is that I just leave them out someplace else. Now they're taking up surface space. Now it looks like I didn't put my mess away, and this is where it kind of goes back to being a child. Didn't put your mess away. You put your stuff away. I'm like, I'm going to forget about this. My nature, my instinct. A lot of us have had this. As a child, we followed our instincts, as all children have a tendency to do at the beginning of their life, to some degree, especially of the things of the heart. And so I'd leave something out. I put most of it away, but I kept some out because I knew what I was doing. I would have a tendency to be reading a handful of books as a child, and so I would keep those books out, or yeah, just generally have the stuff in the way, I guess, at least visually in the way, according to other people's, well, the way they looked at it and the way they processed it, because I inherently, instinctively knew I put it away, I'm going to forget about it, and that would happen. I'm into the book and I'm reading the book, but once it's on the shelf, that sort of object impermanence thing would take over, and my mind would forget I'm reading the book. Something would then have to jog my memory sometime in the future, who knows when. So I do this even to this day with art supplies. And the thing about it is, again, remembering being a child, if someone took issue to how I was keeping some of my stuff out so that I could remember it, so that I could know what colors I'm using, remember the books I'm reading, so I could go on with my life the next morning, then if I had to put it away, or if they put it away and moved it, worse yet, go in and do it for me and just ruin absolutely everything. So unsettling. Had no idea how to do with that, how to deal with that. But that wasn't a huge problem. When it happened, it was bad. If for some reason it got moved or I had to move it, I would then just lose track of it. And it kind of took that aspect of what I was doing out of my life. So now I know that so well today. I'm going back, I'm remembering, and I'm processing how my mind works. If I put this stuff away, I'm kind of afraid that if I put something away, I won't remember. And it's bad enough to lose something that's in your heart, like the art you were working on, the song you were working on, or even not be able to finish working on a video today if I move the camera too far out of the way, or if it's too much trouble for me to go get the tripod, right? I have to figure out how to keep enough organization that I can reasonably move around by putting stuff, move it out of the way, right? Lens cap onto the lens, whatever is safe and necessary. But for instance, recently I've left the tripod where it is and the camera is kind of in my way, a little bit in my way, but it's not problematic, and I'm leaving it there because it's so much easier for me when I have this idea, oh, I feel like I'm going to talk right now, it's right there. And I know that if I detach it and unscrew it from the tripod and all this stuff and put it away, then the next time I think about making a video, it's going to be this huge list of things in my way, impedances. My brain is seeing them as a million blocks in front of me in the road between where I am and getting that video made, or even starting to make that video. So I end up with some daily functional chaos that I never truly put away because I just need it in order to function in my way. Now, at a certain point as a child, I do remember had a caretaker, and I felt really proud of them in the moment because they were always just on about organization and how it needs to be done. And it was just, again, some of that is okay, but some of it was really fritzing to me. It would confuse me. It made me feel kind of unsafe that I have my area set up with the thing I was doing that's important to me, and then all of a sudden it just can't be anymore because someone else says. I was a different child. I knew I'm a child. I don't get to truly make my choices in life, and I understood that it wasn't truly my choice. If I was allowed to do what I wanted to do, it was because somebody else said I could. Ultimately, they could always say otherwise. And so I would do it, and I knew that that was how things were supposed to work, and that's how the system is set up, but it would mess me up. And so one day, this caretaker just stops and looks around and says, your stuff always looks like it's out of control and it's disorganized, but you seem to know where everything is. And it was just this one statement out of nowhere, and I remember just thinking, so there it was, my battery cut off, but we're back now. And I remember what I was saying was, in that moment I was proud of this person because I thought, okay, the fact that you're able to process the fact that it makes so much better sense the way I'm doing it, that I can process it, that I can see it. To me, it was an obvious, of course I knew where my stuff was and I knew how to deal with it because I'm me. You are not me. You're not thinking those thoughts. You don't have the same attachment to my color-coded favorite yellow closing box of, like, the reusable closing box. It was a big old plastic box from, I guess, the 80s. But my color-coded box of crayons where you open it up, and I had space in the lid, one side of the lid. That lid worked perfectly for me. By the way, my ADHD brain, I could arrange all the crayons because it was like a clamshell situation. It kind of suits my point here. As a child, it was really great because it was a clamshell and it would close and it had a handle on the top. So when you open it up, you've got one open container over there, one open side, and this side, you open it, you sit down like a briefcase or suitcase, an attaché, whatever. You have this side where I had all my crayons arranged, and then this side would open up. It was an open tray. So what I ended up doing was keeping my crayons organized in that side like a suitcase. When you pack, you have your clothes in one side of it. But if you have a suitcase where the other side doesn't have more storage space, because a lot of times they do, imagine that the other side is blank, then you can use that other side for something. And because this thing opened all the way up flat like a book, I had the crayons organized in one side. It's like my autistic brain getting satisfied with the organization. They're stored, they're safe. And the other side is completely empty. So what I was doing was choosing the ones I would use on my project, the crayons, and they go in the empty side. It became my work surface to contain my chaos of all of my crayons that I was using and all my colors, my chosen colors that day. And it worked perfectly for me because then I knew what I was doing, and as long as I had them in that container, it was organized. I could pick it up and move it around, but I still had that workspace that was limited. You're getting your waxy crayon pigment inside the container, not on another surface. Kind of worked for everyone, and it's kind of the perfect, in my mind, as a child. I still love this thing to this day. Just the memory of it is cozy and comforting for me. It's like the perfect ADHD containment theory, because you've left yourself space for organization and to do it right, as some people consider it. Some people consider that autistic brain to be not just right, but incredibly, impressively succinct. The way the organization works when it's on fire, other people throughout my life, people have remarked on it. They just remark on it and they love that. But then when they see the ADHD side, I learned early on, part of my masking as an ADHDer really was to completely hide the ADHD too. Because that level of chaos where I needed to have the crayons all over the place, everybody's got a problem with that. It's almost like people who were not either autistic or ADHD fell somewhere in the middle. They like the concept of the organization, but the autistic organization is just so over the top for them. And on the flip side, they like the concept of artsiness, but the truth of what that's often like and the creative chaos that often comes with it was just, again, way over the top for them. But then I had that container. Everybody's happy because as a child, I kept my crayons in it. I liked it. I had my little chaos inside of the other lid. No one has to deal with the chaos. I'm not getting crayon wax everywhere. The little pieces aren't falling off into the floor like mad, you know? It kind of turned into a happy balance situation. And so now I'm kind of in this place as an adult, learning all these new things about my life and my brain, making allowances, knowing how everybody reacts to the different parts of my needs, where I need the organization of the crayons in one lid, but I need the chaos of being able to spread them out based on my project in the other lid, or in the other side of the container. I'm trying to just sort of forget what everybody else thinks and just do what actually works. Because I found myself being pretty much functionally, mentally paralyzed, trying really hard to get up and do a particular routine and to be particularly consistent and to do all these different things, especially when you get into social media. People will say this, and I don't think they understand what they're saying. Because for someone who has an ADHD brain, I'm not sure, I don't want to say it's not possible, but I'm not sure if it's possible by traditional standards. The autistic side of me enjoys being consistent, but it's consistent in a different way. I made a video about this, talking about how my ADHD routines work for me. That might be the title. And I basically was saying I will have something like a floater routine, where, for instance, I will have a tendency to fix my coffee the same way. You know, I have a handful of ways I like to do it. I'll fix it in the same way every day. But that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at the exact same time every day. A lot of this is just because of my brain, and a lot of it is because if you're not living in the perfect environment for all of your needs, where all of your whimsies can just run free like the little Keebler elves or whatever, making all the delicious trees and the delicious treehouse in the forest. Man, the childhood memories, including the commercials, are coming back to me right now. If your whimsies can't run free baking up fabulousness, sometimes you have to tweak your delightful, loving, happy routines to suit other people's routines and their needs and their desires and their whimsies and all this stuff, right? So I might not have my coffee at the same time every day. And that might be because I wake up one day and I don't want coffee. It might be because I don't want anything. It might be because maybe I just want a little more peace. And now is not the time to have peace in the kitchen making my coffee. So I just walk away, right? I mean, it's not a great situation, but sometimes I don't have it at the same time. It's just the routine changes as far as when I do it and whether I do it. But when I do it in the same way. So it kind of floats. I can pick it up and I can do it later. I can do it in the morning. I can do it at noon. I'm a night owl. I can do it at midnight. Whatever is happening. When there are people who, like, I think I've mentioned this before, I like to have a coffee when there are people about. If there are a bunch of visitors, it's one of those things that feels cozy to me, and it's like a comfort food, a comfort beverage. It's just a comfort. So if I can do something like that, I like to do it. And so I will make that coffee, and I don't necessarily do it according to my own desired routine, because I'm pretty much just making it and holding it and nursing it for comfort's sake. It's not necessarily because I just happen to crave it in that moment, but it's because it's just really something grounding for me that feels like home when my routine and my space feels deeply infiltrated and nothing else feels like home anymore. That's a complex subject all by itself, what feels like home. But I'm looking at my life and trying to figure out how to bring that crayon box and that coziness of that floater routine, because that's what that was. That was a floater routine. I could take that box anywhere. I could have it with me traveling. It doesn't matter where you're going or for how long. I could take my box with me and I could have my coloring routine, whatever books I had, new books, new subject matter, new areas, indoors, outdoors, on a table. It doesn't matter where it's taking place. It worked because I just picked it up and carried it. And this is kind of how my life works, even the chaos of different things. When I record my videos, I tend to do them in the same way. There are certain things I kind of expect to have. I want to hopefully every time remember to actually put my microphone on before I start filming. I'm getting better at that. I've been really good at it lately. I expect to have my camera around, but it's the kind of thing where in my mind I kind of want it to have a floating vlog. It was always my intention that I'd be able to get up, go around, maybe I'd be walking. It didn't turn out that way. But in my mind, I'm going to have certain things with me, and they're just kind of functional. When you record a video, you expect to have whatever your recording devices are, and you set them up. It's about where you can put them. But it doesn't mean that if I'm not sitting in this exact spot every single day that I can't record. It just means I'm taking my routine with me. So when I'm up and I'm trying to get stuff done in life, including the videos uploaded, I'm finding that everything, including my plans, have to float. Because I might go to sleep thinking, I have all of these ideas, I just need to choose one and let the inspiration strike. Maybe I already have one that I kind of want to talk about, but I know I'm exhausted. And I know, or for instance, there's an unexpected visit or whatever takes place, I can't do it that day. I'm like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this in the morning. Guess what? I wake up in the morning and it doesn't always take place. Very often it's just not taking place. Now there are a lot of things that could get in the way. I always take a moment to pause and think, and I usually edit this out, because there are a lot of things that happen in life that are private. I've had a lot of shame in my life for the things that get in my way. because sometimes it is just my brain. I don't know what's going on, but my brain is not having it. And I didn't understand why that was. Now I kind of get it. I work differently. I process life differently. I produce things differently. I can't always get up and do it the next day because I planned it. And people are like, well, if you're dedicated enough, you're going to do it. Oh, you don't have time? You're going to make the time. That's really cute, but it makes sense in context. I spent my life knowing how I work. Part of the reason why I love psychology, spirituality, all this stuff teaches me how other people work. And I needed to understand that in order to understand why other people are so hardcore about consistency and making time and getting that plan, just sort of getting it in the eyeball every time because the plan has to have it. We're going to have the plan will not have us, you know? I didn't work that way. And it seems so, excuse me, hiccups again. It seems so obvious to me why I didn't work that way. My instincts and my awareness, I was never making excuses, but people tell you you're making excuses. They tell you what you're doing isn't important to you. And more importantly, for some of us, and in my experience, you're told that if you can't do it the way you're supposed to, you're never going to accomplish anything. And that anything that you will accomplish will be less than. It won't be you living up to your potential. It won't be you being able to compete with everybody else. And it's frankly, in my personal life, it's been a lot of gaslighting to make sure that I can't do what is me and what is my God-given set of talents and rights. What's my life purpose? Because someone is always telling me that if I'm doing what's natural and what's easy and what works, I'm failing. And what's absolutely insane to me is a society where it's acceptable to tell somebody that if anything feels natural, if anything works, that it's automatically a failure. Because to me, those things, and whatever it was where I said 3 things a second ago, those things are very important on the list of what's actually not failing, but what is actually a success. So I've kind of lived my life trying to contain my chaos, and it bursts out. Sometimes I can't put things away. Sometimes I'm scared to put things away. Like that time rolls around where you have to do something with an ID, or you're trying to deal with some important personal business, right? I will leave that stuff out because I know if I put it away, part of me is going to be like, oh, remember you need to do the thing. Oh, remember you've got to do the thing. Oh, can you do the thing today? Oh, I don't have the energy to do the thing today. Oh, I can't deal with all the thoughts. Oh, there's so much extra chaos, but bad chaos this time that comes from having to do the thing. I know I will be thinking of it, and then all of a sudden I will forget. And when I recall again, I have this concern that whatever I need to do, it will be too late. It will have expired. No one will care. I will just have accidentally, completely frailed my life away because I couldn't get it done. I didn't have the energy. That's what I'm saying. Some of the stuff that stands in our way is just our brain not meshing with the environment or the task or what we've been told we need to do. And sometimes it's something very personal. I don't know what to do about this. There's stuff in life that's personal, and I just want to acknowledge that sometimes there's something you can't get over. I've dealt with some things in life that I don't know what I'm going to talk about and what I'm not going to talk about. Maybe I'll make a video about talking about and not talking about stuff. But there have been some things in life where I've been extremely ashamed. They're not neurodivergent oriented. They're just based on having a human body and living in a human realm. And it's been stuff I couldn't get past. I didn't always want to, frankly, humiliate myself by expressing what was going on in my day to prevent me from being able to do something. Wow, it's really emotional all of a sudden. I'm no longer ashamed to say I've had challenges and I've had things that I couldn't get past, and that there was stuff that has overtaken me, and there were things that physically prevented me from being able to get up that day. I think the shame has gone, but there's still some aspect of privacy, and I always want to put some mark of that in there, because some of us are not just living with a neurodivergent brain and neurodivergent motivation and motivation issues. Some of us are dealing with other extremely human things. Sometimes it's private, and sometimes you don't want to, you shouldn't have to tell absolutely everyone. Sometimes you're in a bad position, you have to share and break your own privacy, but we shouldn't have to expose the things that humiliate us. It shouldn't be someone saying, well, you need to do this and you need to do it every day and you need to commit nonstop. Here, do a 30-day plan. And you look at your life, and I've looked at my life, I've never been able to do a 30-day plan, because at a certain point in my life, for the majority of my life, right, at a certain point in my life, I started to realize I will never have 30 days straight. I don't know what I'll have straight, but the stuff that was going on in my life, whether it was because of another human harming me or someone I loved, or whether it was because of ailments I was dealing with, I can't do something for 30 days straight, because I realized I don't even know how many days I have. So I can't make a plan and do things consistently, because functionally sometimes life gets in the way, and sometimes it's not, oh, well, you don't let life get in the way. Honestly, as much as it hurts, the empathic part of me that just loves Christ is really happy that some people believe that, because if you can believe that you can bulldoze through anything, you haven't been through what some of us have been through. And even though it doesn't feel good to have that thrown at you like a weapon, it's ultimately a blessing for someone who doesn't have to know why you cannot be consistent